What is up, fam? Welcome back to another episode on the Jessica Viera Show. Today, we're going to be talking about Coochie Power. Coochie is going to be like the brand name, I think the brand word for this podcast. I absolutely love it. It was so funny how this actually came about, the word Coochie. Like, we were at home, we were having our family dinner, and I didn't even know how it came about. We were just making jokes. We normally at home, we've got myself, my mom, my sister, and then my sister's partner. And when we have our family dinners, it's kind of just like we talk about everything and anything. We're a very open family. Call us maybe like the Kardashians. We're probably a little bit too open. It's a little bit weird to people that don't have close relationships in their family, but we really talk about everything and anything. And I didn't even know what we were talking about at the time, and I'm not gonna go into it even if it comes up. But Vanique just drops. She's like, what did she say? She said, "Did he make your coochie quiver?" And it was the funniest thing. So if coochie becomes a thing for this podcast, then I'm going to give this has to go to Maud. She's the one that came up with this coochie quivering thing, and then we just kind of rolled with it. And I absolutely love it. So we're going to be talking about all things coochie quivering. You know, just because your coochie's quivering doesn't mean that he can touch it episode. We're going to be talking about protecting your energy, your standards, and the coochie. And we're going to talk about 15 questions to ask in your first 30 days of seeing someone so that you can assess for compatibility. Okay, guys? So let's dive in. So most people are out here choosing their partners based on vibes and sexual attraction. Now, if that's you, sexual attraction, it's just lust, okay? It's just lust. Sexual attraction doesn't always mean that there is compatibility, all right? And then you're probably wondering after 6 months in, why you're stuck in an emotional hostage with someone who doesn't even meet your basic needs, okay? So in this episode, we're going to talk through survivor guide to dating with standards. Self-respect is a huge one. And a functioning brain. We're covering healthy boundaries, red flags, green flags, and the 15 questions you need to ask in the first 30 days. That's going to set you up right for dating this person. Like I say, compatibility. I truly believe that after the first month, you 100% know if you should keep seeing that person. And if you don't have enough self-awareness. Because in the first 30 days, this is the most critical time to actually ask a lot of uncomfortable questions. I know the person that I was recently with, in our first 30 days, we started off playing a game with 21 questions. And it was the best. It was so healthy. So healthy. I was like, wow, this is actually really amazing. We asked a lot of very confronting, yet playful, yet deep questions about one another. And in that first 30 days, you're not really that emotionally invested in a person, not unless you're someone that just completely falls head over heels. But I wasn't that emotionally invested in this person. So we played 21 questions, and then it ended up becoming 1,000 questions. And we really got to know one another through these questions. And then we would take that into when we would see each other, we would ask each other questions. We would ask very confronting questions, difficult things about sexuality, relationships with our family members, our plans for our lives, where even just things that we felt that we needed to work on for ourselves, past traumatic experiences. We really asked a lot of questions. And I think it was really, really healthy because it built a very, very solid, amazing foundation. And it really allowed us to get to know one another. When I think of so many times where I've even dated someone past the first 30 days and I've not asked a lot questions and I've not really gotten to know that person, it's no wonder why it never lasts, or it's no wonder why like that person was just completely not compatible with me at all, is because like I was just pedestaling that person. I just thought that they were amazing based on what they told me, instead of having some really uncomfortable conversations and asking some really deep questions to really get to know that person beyond the mask that they were putting on. Because so many people can date within the first like 30 to 90 days, and they can wear a really big mask, and they can pretend to be someone that they're not. And the way that people pretend to be someone that they're not is if you're not having those uncomfortable conversations. Because when you ask very difficult, highly intentful, highly skilled questions, yes, I said the word highly skilled, okay? Because let's be honest, dating is a vetting process, okay? Just like you are a recruiter, just like if you're a salesperson, like you're literally vetting this person to see, is this person compatible for my future? Can I get to know this person enough so I can decide whether I want to spend this next 6 months with this person, whether I want to spend a year with this person. And trust me, the older that you get, the more you start to value your time. And it's 6 months or 1 year. For me, I'm 32, and age is something that I've always panicked about, and something that I continue to panic about all the time. Like, I don't know why I have such a big fear around aging, or like I'm running out of time. But for me, 6 months is half a fucking year. 1 year is a fucking year. It's 365 days. That's 4 quarters. That's 4 quarters. That's 12 months. I don't even know how many seconds of minutes that is. Like, I have got to a place in my life where I really value my time. I really value my energy. And like, I just don't believe in like getting past the first month if there is not compatibility. And compatibility for me isn't always about looks. It's not always about looks. Like for me, it's like getting to know someone first, and their energy and their frequency and their behaviors and their patterns and how they live their life, like the green flags versus the red flags. And then from there, once you get past the 3 months, that's when we start to have really fucking difficult conversations. And then when you get to 6 months, that's where you start to have like, okay, is there a future? What would it look like if we moved in together? What are we talking about? Future plans? Are we talking about things that we're going to do in the future together? Are we having those conversations? If you're not having those conversations at the 6 months mark, or you were and then they dropped off, then honey, like it's just not going anywhere. So like, I really believe in having like the uncomfortable conversations, and asking very specific questions in that first 30 days so you can actually get to see someone beyond the mask that people put on. Because a lot of people, when you start to see someone for the first time, like you put on this facade, and a lot of people are very, very good at wearing masks because they're operating from that beta wavelengths, where they're operating from survival and the fight or flight, and they're operating from ego. So they're protecting themselves, and they're putting up walls because they're afraid to let people in. And if that person is like an avoidant attachment style, then they're protecting themselves at all costs. They're not getting vulnerable. They're not getting deep. They're not having those deep emotional connections, deep emotional conversations. Oh, no, 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 no. They're putting up that big wall. They're putting up a wall, they're protecting themselves. And even anxious attachment styles will do the same. We will protect ourselves because we're afraid of being abandoned. We're afraid of being rejected. We're afraid of not being good enough. We're afraid of not being the right fit for that person. So we will also put up walls when we go to meet someone. And the funny thing about like these attachment styles as well is that typically anxious attachment styles will attract avoidant attachment styles. You'll attract the opposite, okay? Because don't forget, it's the mirror. Don't ever forget the mirror and the shadows of our unconscious mind. The mirror, if you're an anxious attachment style, then you are going to naturally manifest and attract the avoidant, because your anxiousness wants to chase for love, needs to prove that you are worthy enough to be loved, and you feel like you need to chase the person that is emotionally unavailable to get that love. Whereas the avoidant has all the walls up, they're avoidant of emotion. They don't want to feel emotion. So they're naturally going to attract people most of the time, the opposite, where that person wants to be saved. Okay. So if you think about this, okay, because we all have this, where, and then there's the secure people that have done a lot of the work. Then you'll notice, like, when you go on these dates, like, everyone is wearing a mask because no one wants to be judged. No one wants to be criticized. Everyone's afraid to wear their heart on their sleeve and be vulnerable. We're all afraid of judgment at the end of the day. And then at the deepest level, beyond judgment and criticism, we are all just afraid to be abandoned. We're all just afraid to be rejected because it fucking hurts. It hurts your heart. And we're all afraid of feeling that. So we avoid it at all costs. So when we go into dating someone, then we're afraid to ask the deep questions. Our mind is thinking it. Our mind wants to know, how many times have you been on a goddamn date and you're like, you want to ask the question, but you don't. That's your little wounds. Like, that's your inner child coming out there, afraid to ask the question, afraid to be authentic and be yourself and ask these questions because you're afraid that what that person is going to say back to you either isn't what you expected, therefore you have an expectation, or you're afraid that if this person maybe is the one and you're pedestaling that maybe the answer will create some form of rejection, or it'll make you feel not good enough if the response isn't what you want to hear. Again, like, it all ties back to like a past experience that maybe you have experienced before, and it all comes back to like that fear, right? The fear of like what the response is going to be, but then also the fear of putting yourself out there and asking difficult questions, because maybe once upon a time in your life, whether that was in your childhood with your caregivers, once upon a time you were taught that your needs were valid. You were taught not to ask questions. You were taught that to be quiet. You weren't seen. You weren't heard. Your questions were too much. Your questions was invasive, or like, how many times I've heard parents sometimes say this to kids, like in the shopping center, like, you ask too many questions, or like, stop asking questions, or oh, you don't need to know that. It's very powerful how parents have an impact on our behaviors as an adult. And I do believe that, like, when we get older, we get so scared to ask questions because at some point in our childhood, we were taught that we're not allowed to ask questions. We were taught to be silent. We were taught, to keep quiet. And then that was programmed us to feel unheard. So we're afraid. We go into these like dates, and we're afraid to ask these questions in fear. It's all just fear. It's all just fear. So before you accidentally commit to someone who makes you want to scream into a goddamn pillow, because like we've all bloody been there, then I want to take you through a few questions that you should be asking. Okay, so by the end of this, you'll know exactly how to date with clarity, how to avoid situationships, and most importantly, how to protect your energy, your emotions, and your coochie, or your commitment, for the men listening. I do believe in protecting the coochie, okay? Women need to protect their coochie at all costs. And men, I'm just going to go on a tangent real quickly. Guys, you need to understand that a woman's coochie is her self-worth. It is her emotions. It is her femininity. It is her life force. It is her power. It is her everything. The moment a woman gives over her coochie to a man is the moment that a man has full responsibility of her and her emotions. That is when a man needs to step up and be responsible for that woman. So when a woman, if let's just say you have sex with a woman before commitment phase, and let's just say within the first 30 days for the purpose of this podcast, if you have sex together in the first 30 days without commitment, without exclusivity, and it doesn't need to be like we're in a relationship, although technically you should wait 3 months before you are sexually intimate with someone, because that gives you enough time to get to know them and all the rest instead of just, jumping right in. But then there are many people out there that just end up in relationships very, very fast. They know they've had all the difficult conversations, they've done all the deep work, and, they're able to move into that quite quickly. But typically, if you have, let's just say you meet someone, you have sex within the first 30 days, you're both seeing other people, you're both having sex with other people, all the rest. Now, this woman is an emotional, is an anxious attachment style. She thinks that if she has sex with you, that you'll like, that you will like her more, that you will love her, that you will choose her. She gives you all of her trust. She gives you all of her emotion. She puts all of her trust into you, because when a woman has sex with a man, she's saying, I trust you. I'm respecting you, but I'm disrespecting myself if I'm not in a committed relationship. I'm choosing you, and I am handing over my emotions to you. And this is just how the energetic field works between men and women. I am opening myself up to you. I'm being vulnerable with you. And then if that happens, and then the man turns around and becomes avoidant, doesn't want a serious relationship, says, oh, this isn't what I'm looking for right now, blah, 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 blah. And she goes batshit crazy. She's batshit crazy, not because she's batshit crazy. She's dolling that way because she has put her trust and her emotions into you. And the moment that a woman gives herself to a man, she's trusting you. She's respecting you. But in some way, she's also disrespecting herself and her own needs. And she's disrespecting her own feminine self-worth in hope that she'll get chosen. So she's going crazy because there's not that healthy communication. She doesn't know where she stands. And if a man has become avoidant afterwards, it's because he's not taking care of her. He's not being responsible for her heart. And to be honest, there are so many men out there. This isn't to attack the men. Love men. Women need to take just as much ownership as well. And you need to protect your fucking coochie, like, period. Protect your coochie. Don't just hand it out. So this is equally as much for women as it is for men. Now, men, if I just lost my pop track thought here. That's going to be so good. I was about to go there. I was just about to get to the point. Okay, so if men, I see this pattern a lot. Okay, and this is because if a woman has given herself to a man, and she's within the first 30 days, and you have had sexual intercourse, and you're putting your trust into this guy. Okay, now if a man turns around and sex at the end of 30 days, and you have the conversation like, where is this going? What is this? All the rest. And he says, I'm really enjoying how things are at the moment. And I really am enjoying like our spicy time. And I love the fun that we have. But I'm just not at the stage in my life where I'm ready for something serious. But I really love to keep getting to know you and keep going with the flow and just keep having these conversations. Right. You need to end it. You need to end it, because what that really is saying is like, I'm enjoying our sexual intimacy. I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying how things are, but I don't want to be responsible for your heart. I want you when I call you. I want the texting. I want the communication. I want the nurturing when you give me nurturing. I want your feminine energy when you give me feminine energy. I like this situation with this and this sexual chemistry and all the rest, but I don't want to be emotionally responsible for you. I don't want to provide emotional safety. I don't want to provide emotional security, and I'm just not, I don't want to be in it. So that's what that means. And if you as a woman choose to participate and say, okay, if you're anxious attachment, if you turn around and say, okay, well, let's just keep seeing how it goes then if you like getting to know me. No, honey, you missed the fucking point. You missed the fucking point. You missed the point. The point isn't, I am happy with getting to know you and he wants to get to know you so that he could choose you. No, that's your anxious attachment style. That is your anxiousness that is hoping that you'll get chosen if he gets to know you more and then chooses you. Most men know 100% whether they want to actually be in a relationship with a woman within the first 30 days. They do. They're very logical. They're assessing you. It's literally it's a whole criteria. So if he says that, don't not look at everything else that has been said. Okay, because what they're saying is I like this situation for how it is. That's it. But I'm not responsible for your heart. And the moment that you say, oh, okay, well, no worries, I'll just keep seeing you, is the moment that you dismiss your own needs for safety, for love, for stability, for protection, for respect. And the moment that you disrespect yourself, you're basically going to mirror disrespect from him. That's it. Don't ever forget, it's always a mirror. So just a little bit of some education there for you. So what I want to get into is like, don't choose partners based on chemistry and attraction. Instead, you want to choose partners based on compatibility, and that's going to come through having difficult conversations. If you don't ask enough questions at the beginning, then you're going to become emotionally attached before realizing that that person can't actually meet our needs or they're not healthy for us. So in the first 30 days is a make or break. You're either setting a standard or you're setting yourself up for a lesson. Okay, so I'm going to go through some questions that you're going to ask and then we're going to wrap this up. Okay, so questions, I've got them all listed down here. Okay, now before you get into the question part, I want you to first, you need to understand what your boundaries are. Okay, that's the very first thing, because if you don't know what your boundaries are, then you don't know how to communicate what your boundaries are, and then that person needs to know what they are. And these are things that are non-negotiables. They're standards that keep your peace intact. Okay, now you have to know those. Now, I'm just looking for my notes and we are going to dive into them. Okay, so, and I've got these so that I don't ramble on. Now, these are non-negotiable questions that I have found have worked really, really well. And if the person is avoidant of these questions or does not answer them or is defensive or deflects the questions and then kind of says, oh, that's a good question. Well, what's yours? Like, tell me yours. And they're constantly deflecting or getting defensive. 100% red flags. Run, don't walk, run away. And don't progress it forward. These questions are healthy. They are non-invasive. They are necessary for the dating phase. And you should be asking these. Otherwise, you're just building relationships based on chemistry and lust. And that's not the vibe. Okay. So use these at your own risk. Now, these are for both men and women. Okay, it is not one-sided. So question number 1, what does a healthy relationship look like to you? Okay, what this is going to help you understand is, are we aiming for the same thing or are we not? Question number 2, how do you handle conflict? Okay, this is really important. What this is going to tell you is, are they mature or are they going to go shoot when things get real? How do they typically respond? In anger, in sadness? Are they someone that needs to process emotions? Are they someone that has to get things off of their chest really fast? I know myself, I can't hold on to things. I honestly, I'm a little bit too much sometimes. If I have something on my heart, like it needs to come out, and sometimes it comes out in the most not the best ways, and it's like my little Jessica comes out, and she's just a wild animal sometimes. But sometimes, and then sometimes I get very, very passionate, and my tone changes, and it sounds very, it pierces through the air, and I've had to actually communicate this to people, like, hey, like, I do find myself that to be able to handle conflict quite well, but sometimes I'm a Latina, I'm quite passionate, and sometimes I say things that are not very nice, and I need to be told, like, it's not a very nice thing to say. And I need directness and I need honesty, and I could take it. And if I'm acting in a certain way, I appreciate it if I'm told. so that I can correct that and I'm aware of it. But like these conversations need to be had. Pretending to be someone you're not is not a good thing. The next one is what's your relationship history? This is going to tell you, do they leave destruction behind, or are they actually, or have they actually learned from their past? You want to know, like, what was the last 5 to 10 years of dating like? Who was the last person you dated? Why did it end? What happened? What was the situation? What was the person like? Like, knowing this is really important because you also need to know, well, how did that person grow through that? Have they changed? Because like things ending is not like a one person thing. It's normally two people playing a part in it. Number 4, what's your love language? So this is really important because you want to know, are they gonna give you gifts, or are they going to give you words of affirmation? So everyone has their own love language. For me, I love words of affirmation and kind gestures. That's something for me. But then like the opposite might like quality time, and they might also like affection. So for me, if they love affection, but that's not my love language, well, I can't give them words of affirmation when their love language is affection, because affirmations is not going to do it for them. I have to learn how to give them affection in a time that they need that. So understanding that is really important. Number 5, how do you feel about emotional vulnerability? This is going to tell you, can you actually talk about your feelings? Is it safe for you to talk about your feelings? Is there going to be emotional stability, emotional security there? Or are you signing up for a lifetime of guessing games and there's no emotion whatsoever? And every time you express your feelings, it just turns into this chaotic shit show. So like, is it safe for you to express your feelings in a safe way? And can you communicate that? And how do they handle that? Number 6, what are your personal and professional goals? This is really important to know how you're building a future. Are they on purpose? If you're someone that's very ambitious and you're very career driven and whatnot, then maybe you value having someone that is similar like that. You may, find that might be one of your values that you do like. Okay. And then also you just want to know, like, does this person have a plan? Especially if you're a woman, like you want to know, like, can this person leave me? Can this person provide? Can this person potentially take care of me and children if we have children? Like, you do want to know, well, what is the future? What is this person building? And it goes both ways. Even men want to know about women. What are you working on? Because a woman can't make a man all of her life. Otherwise, she loses herself. She needs to still have her own thing. Number 7, what's your attachment style? Like, guys, you already go, what attachment style is really important. Are they secure, anxious, avoidant? Maybe they don't even know. They may not even know. But having conversations around, like, what is your relationship like with your parents? What was it like with your mom? What was it like with your dad, your caregivers, your siblings? Like, understanding that will tell you a lot about someone's attachment style. Or you're also going to be able to figure out, are we about to trauma bond? Is there even connection here? Or are we trauma bonding based on our childhood? That's a really big thing. Number 8, how do you spend your free time? Does their lifestyle align with yours, or are they fundamentally different? Okay, really important. How do you handle finances? This is a big one. You want to know, are you financially compatible, or do they think afterpay is a personality trait? Okay. Are they someone that has really bad money management, or is constantly putting things on credit and constantly living week by week? Like, how are they setting themselves up? Okay. These are really important conversations to be had, and definitely can be had within the first 30 days so that you're of an understanding. Well, are we able to talk about this? Because money talk is very taboo, but it's also very necessary for you to have these conversations, especially if you're going to move into an intimate relationship. Because by the time you get into a serious relationship and you're moving in together, there may be shared bank accounts, there may be all these things, and you do have to talk about these things. And I personally have had to have very uncomfortable conversations about my finances with partners, and especially my most recent. And it was really, really, really confronting to have these conversations, but it was also very necessary. Number 10, what's your relationship like with your family? Really important. Because if, your mom's still doing your laundry, then that might be a problem. Or if your mug is really smothering and overbearing and too much, it could be a problem. You really want to know, what are those relationships like? And then 11, what are your thoughts on exclusivity and commitment? That way, before you emotionally invest, you can see if you're on the same page or whether you're in alignment. So like, are they looking for something serious? Are they not looking for something serious? Are they looking for marriage? Is that what they want? And if you are looking for marriage, just be completely upfront and honest. Including like, do they want children? Do they not want children? If they don't want children and you want children, then you probably shouldn't be in that relation. You shouldn't even pursue past 30 days because that's something that they're adamant on, and that's a choice. Number 12, what's your sexual compatibility like? This is going to help you determine if you're all about emotional connection and you're out here. This is going to help you determine if you're about sexual connection or if it's all about numbers. Okay. So having conversations around the past, sexual relationships that they've been in, what are they into? Fantasies, kinks, all the rest, what boundaries around sex, like that is so important to have these conversations. And just, past relationships and all the rest, very important to have these conversations because like we already know that there is sexual energetic entanglement that happens, and you want to make sure that you're doing your due diligence before you go down that pathway of the sexual intimacy. And then number 13, how do you recharge your energy? Are they someone that respects their alone time, needs their alone time, or do they constantly need to be surrounded by people to seek external validation? What are they like? How do they reset? That's really important. And then number 14, what are your deal breakers? Okay, because you don't want to find out 6 months down the track that they secretly hate dogs or something. Like I know myself, I love dogs. And if I found out 6 months later that they hate dogs, I'd be completely upset. Or you would really hate to be with someone for 6 months and then you find out 6 months later that they don't want children, nor do they want to get married. Like that's not something that you want to find out later. And number 15, what's your definition of self-growth? Okay. What you're going to find out is, do you actually believe in evolving, or are you the same person who you were in high school? Okay. If personal development and personal evolution and personal growth is important for you, which it should be for anyone that's entering a relationship, because you have to be able to grow together. Otherwise, you become stagnant. Any form of relationship needs to be built on evolution and growth. And if that's something that's really important for you and you end up in a relationship with someone that doesn't believe in self-development, doesn't do anything to better themselves, doesn't believe in growing, but you believe in betterment and you believe in growing, then you are going to outgrow that person, and that's going to be really painful. Okay. So if you're scared to ask any of these questions, I want you to ask yourself why. The vibe is strong here, but if the answers are weak, I want you to run. Okay. Just because you're vibing with someone, just because there's chemistry, just because there's lust, it doesn't mean that they're the one. Real compatibility comes through having the difficult conversations, asking the difficult conversations before you give the coochie. Okay. So it's not about waiting to see if they become the right person for you. No, they are the person. They are just the person that they are now. You have to ask the questions about who they already are now, so you can have discernment and make the right decisions, because sex isn't just physical, it's energetic. What you give access to should be earned, not assumed. And men need to protect their emotional investment the same way women need to protect their physical and emotional energy. So some of y'all are out there handing out sex like it's a free samples at Costco, hoping someone will stay because of it. Meanwhile, some men are out there throwing around, I'm not looking for anything serious, into conversations like it's a get out of jail free card. And most women are just ignoring it and not paying attention to the actual signs. So how do we avoid all of this? We have the difficult conversations. For all of you listening, have the conversations. Go back through this episode, write all those questions down. They may be really hard and may feel really uncomfortable for your central nervous system when you first ask them, but I promise you, it gets easier. It's just your body is not used to having depth in conversation, and it's just a central nervous system response. And if at any point you do genuinely feel uncomfortable, you can always just express that. You can say, this is making me feel a little bit fearful right now. I'm fearful about sharing this because I'm afraid of judgment or I'm afraid of criticism. And when you can share that fear and the other person can hold that emotional capacity and emotional space and say, like, look, it's okay. It's all right, and they can provide you that support in that moment, then that's amazing. Someone is holding emotional space and emotional capacity for you in order for you to be vulnerable and expressive. And honestly, if that person can't even do that when you've expressed that you feel fear of judgment or criticism, sharing something about your life, sharing something personal, or asking a difficult question, then that person is just not for you, period. So until the next episode, guys, love you all. Thank you so much for being here.